Hi, everybody. We've got a special bonus edition of Punishing Dumbass Openings. I know I've done a couple of these recently, had some stuff submitted, but then Pete popped up in the messages on chess.com and said, Ben, I've got an absolute howler or a peach or whatever, however you want to call it. I've had a quick look at the game, and yes, we have to. This is too good not to share. And then so I thought, look, let's get Pete on and talk us through it because what you said in your message, Pete. So Pete's obviously a Chess Bootcamp Live member. I've shared some of his awesome attacking games before. But what you said in your message was something like you knew it was dumbass, but you didn't know how to punish it.
Yeah, it was really difficult to play against, but I think as we'll see, it was obviously bad and obviously stupid. But at the same time, it was incredibly aggressive and required some defensive play in effect.
Yeah. So let's go through the first few moves because I think sometimes when this stuff happens, we go, is this some weird trap that I've never, walked into before? Yeah.
Yeah,
Could be. Anyway, so you've got the black pieces. We have e4, e5. Excellent starts. Knight f3, knight c6. This all looks normal to me.
sure.
Then we have d4, which is the Scotch.
Right.
Okay. So and you take here.
Yeah, so I play the classical variation of the Scotch, which usually would be the bishop
Oh,
out. Yeah,
okay.
so here, if they took with the knight, as you're indicating, I'd play the bishop out to c5 and enter the
Yeah.
classical variant. But that's not what happened.
You're not being tempted into the Steinitz variation, which is apparently unsound, really.
I've given it a go, but I actually am quite enjoying the classical
Okay.
variation.
But your
Um,
opponent now throws you a curveball
right,
by playing knight g5.
absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously your queen's looking at that, but it's a defended square. However, he's already broken one commandment by moving a piece twice. So, what are you thinking here?
I was very confused at this stage. I mean, I sort of get a little bit uncomfortable with knights on my side of the board
Hmm.
in an opening, right? So at this stage, I'm relatively wary about what exact. I can already tell there's some sort of opening trap planned.
Hmm.
So I kind of wanted to push back a little and avoid immediately giving my opponent all of the initiative.
Yeah. I guess what he probably expects is something like h6 kicking the knight away, but then which is a slightly weakening move. So you here choose to you play bishop b4 check.
Right. And my thought was one thing that I will do is even if I have to bring the bishop back after inducing a weakness is I am going to play a developing move
Mm,
here, given that he's used two moves on one piece. I will get two pieces out onto the board.
nice. Okay, so he does push c3, which is the natural looking move because it comes with tempo. And you trade. He recaptures, now giving himself an isolated pawn.
Yeah,
You can't take, you'd love to take with a fork, but
right.
it's still defended by the knight. So you now drop back to e7. So you've not really wasted a move at all here, have you? In tempo terms, you could almost call this queen developed as she is playing an active role in this tactic.
Right. So my view was, as black, I've got a development lead and a battery on one of
Mm.
white's pieces, and that seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, and he can't go back there. So whoa, okay. So now he sacks the knight for a pawn and a bust up of castling rights.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this was the point at which I realized this was going to be very unusual. Um, but I wasn't. I obviously had to take the knight and
Mm.
just say, well, I'll figure out how to defend this afterwards.
Yeah, because it's not like the thing is you can block here. If the queen comes out here, even this pawn isn't a threat because you've got that square covered. E5 is covered.
Right.
Yeah, I would have 100% taken there. So now he comes out with the bishop and gives check. Now look at this: 8 moves in, and he's got 1 piece developed, and he's
Yeah.
not castled either. And you just calmly drop back.
Yeah.
Now the queen comes out, and you know that you can block this, and you know that you've got that covered. Second attacker on there. It's just that it doesn't. I'm not convinced by this attack yet.
Yeah, I have to say at this point there is a lot here in terms of danger for black. So I was worried at this stage, and I realised I had to be pretty careful from here on out.
So you kind of preemptively centered the knight, which feels like a nice move. It's natural. You're forking the queen and this light squared bishop, which is actually quite a strong piece. But
Yeah.
you've got 2 knights. White's only got 1 knight that isn't developed yet. So you come in with the threat. Now, this forces a trade of material if you want it. And isn't that just a blunder?
Well,
Because, I mean, the queen from here could have moved to there, not to there, but the queen could have moved back here. And
yeah, I think the point here is that he's willing to give up that bishop because he thinks that eventually the pawn push to e5 is going to create irresistible threats, basically.
although your knight again can still capture backwards. I don't know. Okay, so right, so he pushes the pawn. He thinks he's got something here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the knight capturing back just gives back the piece. The knight capturing the pawn.
Yeah. But you're actually 2 pieces up at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured though that things were going to get worse if I just sort of let him dictate the play because he still had castling rights.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I did what I did next. So yeah, what I thought was he with that pin piece, he's now going to try and castle or develop that knight and put me into more trouble than I'm currently in. And I sort of have this rule of thumb of if you've got 2 attackers, it's not that dangerous an attack. But if there's 3 or more, then you're in trouble. So I kind of decided at this stage that I wasn't going to let him get a 3rd piece into the attack.
And what's your interpretation? Although you can't look in his eyes, what kind of mood do you think your opponent is in, or what do you think his playing style is at this point?
Well, I think the play style, as evidenced by what he's done so far, is dubious but highly aggressive to the point of very difficult to play against.
Yeah. So if he's very attacking oriented, then one way to try and deal with a player like this is to try and let him. It's like, okay, come and attack me, but I'm going to stick a dagger between your ribs any second now. So this,
right,
you set up knight to b2, which looks really, really weird.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, exactly your point is that against a player like this, I always want counterplay because if you just let them develop their attack, it can become impossible to defend if you're not a supercomputer.
Yeah. And here, your opponent actually thinks for 9 seconds and then plays e takes f6, capturing the knight. And I hope everyone by this point has spotted knight to d3, the royal fork. Really nice name for a pub. And then here White resigns, having spent only 2 minutes. What a fascinating game. So I've pulled up the match report on it. You've got 2 inaccuracies and an average of 90.9, which is really good. Your opponent actually had the only great move in the game, bizarrely.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all book, and this is already a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And it calls this an inaccuracy. It's saying the immediate bishop e7, hitting the knight, I guess, with tempo. So then with the immediate that you get two pieces developed, he has either to retreat the knight or defend it a second time, which either option is pretty ugly. I guess he could also, there is an option of queen d2 to defend with the queen as well. But you play this and then back, which it now calls an inaccuracy, but you are -1.5. So here, the immediate b7, it's saying that you're -2. So half a pawn we ignore. That's the general rule. Okay, and this is, clearly a mistake. Best move. Good. King f8. So I guess you probably consider king e8 as well. But then you've got queen h5 check as well. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really dubious play. It feels like your opponent has tried to bluff you and failed. That's
right.
kind of, there we go. Great move. And that's only good. Yeah, queen e2 is best because it literally defends the bishop.
Right.
Now, good. Okay, this is interesting though. The computer says you should have took the pawn.
Right.
And you would probably have been fine because you're still up a whole piece. But you're playing a human being, not Stockfish. Stockfish would have noticed this.
Right.
At 100. But your opponent didn't, so good job. Definitely a dumbass opening, for sure.
Yeah, it was that sort of weird mix between a ridiculous opening, but also one that really made me think about, how am I going to defend all of these threats, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really, really useful one to share. Because, that's the thing. I think there are people who play these dubious and unsound openings because it feels like they want to knock you off your perch immediately and confuse you. In fact, I have to confess, I'm probably in that crowd myself with the repertoire that I'm playing. But to me, I don't count. I don't know. I mean, this is just weird. This isn't like a gambit. This isn't like the Russo or the Latvian or whatever. It's just wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's a difference between playing a gambit, and between play. I mean, this person's rated 1400, and presumably has analysed some of their games and knows this knight move is categorized as a mistake, right? There's a difference between playing a gambit and playing a move that is highly dubious on the basis that it catches some people off guard, right? Which is, to me, not a good habit to get into.
Yeah,
but it is interesting.
Definitely interesting. Right, well, thanks for sharing that, Peter.
No problem.
Curious move. Do you think that you'd have dealt with that in such a calm way, 3 months ago?
No, I mean, I think my chess has come a long way in the 3 months that I've actually been in a member of Chess Bootcamp Live, and I definitely would have panicked a lot easier. I mean, that was a sort of it was weird because I'm a very attacking player, but equally I get very sensitive about threats. So I've learned a lot, and I've learned to deal with these situations a lot better, I think.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it was a great job, and to get 90% accuracy in such a turmoil of a game is definitely a good job.
Good job.
Yeah. So thanks, pal, and hope everyone's enjoyed watching that one. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, buddy. Take care.
You too.